In this video, I'm going to do a deep dive into the requirements to make an accessible website navigation menu. A few weeks ago, I did a comparison of the menus in several major themes and page builders. The results were disappointing to say the least. If you haven't seen it already, check out the link in the description since it gives a good overview of the things I look for. In that video, I said I was going to do a roundup of all the menus and how they stacked up against the testing criteria. Well, the videos caused quite a stir, and most of the vendors I tested started working on their menu accessibility. That's good for the internet, but a pain in the butt when I had videos planned. So instead of doing a roundup that will be outdated within a few days, I'm just going to test the newly released 2023 theme in WordPress 6.1, and I'll show you the specific criteria as I go along. I'm Adam Lowe, president of Peak Performance Digital. If you find content like this helpful, I'd love it if you can give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. We'll start with the new WordPress installation with the accessibility theme test data loaded. The only change I've made to this site is to set the menu in WordPress to one of the test menus that we just created. I'm going to go through this test in a few passes. First, I'm going to do a visual inspection with my mouse the way a typical person would use the menu. I'll check it at 100% scale and 400% scale. Then, I'll try navigating with the keyboard, again at both regular desktop scale and mobile scale. Next, I'll turn on the screen reader to hear what the menus sound like to people who rely on them. And lastly, I'll go step by step through the criteria I gathered from the W3C on how an accessible navigation menu should work, and we'll see how this does. So first, let's just hover over these things, and we can see when I hover over each menu, I've got an underline that indicates that I can do something to it. When I go over to one of the drop-down menus, it opens the drop-down. I don't have any glitches when I move from the top navigation item down to the submenu. And again, in the submenu, we can see that the items underline when I mouse over them. So all in all, this looks pretty simple and pretty good. Now let's zoom in a little bit. Go to 400% scale, and here we've got the navigation hamburger menu. I'll click on it to open it up. And we can see that home is underlined with a dashed underline. And I wonder why that is, because it's not the item that we're on right now. I would expect that this item, oh, you know what it is? Because it's focused with the keyboard. That's why it's underlined. Okay. So when I mouse over each of these, we get a regular underline, and that seems to work okay. I can see everything. Our submenus automatically are expanded here on the mobile menu. And that's fine. So visually, I'd say that everything looks okay. Nothing's going off the page. Nothing looks out of the ordinary. Next, I'm going to use the keyboard. And for this, we use the Tab key to move around. We use Shift Tab to move backwards. And to open a submenu, we're going to hit Enter and Spacebar on either the top level menu item or a button that controls the dropdown. So both Enter and the Spacebar should be the keys that work. So let's just tab through. I'll get through my Chrome menu, and we'll go through the WordPress menu. We've got the logout. And the next thing I see here is a skip to content button. And there's some debate about whether the skip to content button should be after the WordPress admin bar or before it. I prefer it being after, and the way that I see it most often is after. So let's just make sure this works. I'll hit enter. And even though that's technically not something controlled by the menu, I like to test it as part of the menus because it does affect how somebody would use a menu or skip past it. All right, so that worked the way I expected to. Now we'll go ahead and tab through. And I am focused on 2023. What we can see is two different things that show me that I'm focused on something. One is that I have a dashed underline on the focus item. And the other thing is that I have a solid box around it. So this is, again, one of those accessibility criteria where it says that you need a different way to show that you are focused on something than just hovered over it. So that looks fine for the site icon. Now we'll go into our menu and home, get the same thing. So tabbing across all the top level menu items works. And that's good because as I tab through things with a drop-down, it's not opening up the drop-down. Again, that's one of the criteria. We're going to do Shift Tab to make sure that we can go backwards. That works fine. And now I'll just tab all the way through to make sure that my keyboard isn't trapped inside the menu and that, yes, it does go down to the body content. All right, so now we'll go back to the top of the menu. And now I'm going to go over to look at a drop-down. And I like the way that WordPress does this. There's really two different ways that you can do a dropdown. One is by using the top level menu item as the toggle. The other is by putting a button as the toggle. So that's what we have here. We've got this top level menu item that's actually a link to take you to the About page. And then right next to it is a button. And this is the thing that actually opens and closes the dropdown. When we use the mouse to hover over something, we can't really tell that there's a difference because of the way that the menu is coded. But with the keyboard, we can. So if I do this, I can hit enter. And that will take me to the link, just as I expect. And if I hit spacebar on the link, it scrolls down the page, again, just as I would expect when I'm using keyboard navigation. On the button, this is the thing that controls the drop-down. I can hit Enter to open it. Enter again closes it. I can hit Space to open it, and Space again to close it. And good, that's exactly what I expect. So now I'm going to open it, and I'm going to tap in. And once I'm in here, again, I'm seeing that my focus indicators all look right. I'm going to hit the Escape key to see if that closes the menu. And what this should do is close the menu and return the focus to my button. And there it is, returns it there. So now I can enter one more, and that goes right in. The next thing I'm going to look at is whether tabbing all the way out of here closes the menu, which it does. So sometimes I've seen where you can tab all the way through a submenu, and it doesn't actually close the submenu. It leaves it open until the next one's triggered. All right, I'll come over here to this button and open it up, because here we have nested submenus. And this is generally not good for accessibility at all. Using nested submenus is pretty much bad practice, but it's something that WordPress does support. So again, inside of here, we have the first level link, and then next to it is the button. When I click on that, it opens up the sub-menu. Hitting Escape closes the whole thing, and that's fine. And tabbing all the way through does what I expect. Next thing I want to do is go through here and now try Shift tabbing to make sure that when I tab backwards through a submenu, it still closes. And yes, it does. All right, so keyboard navigation seems to work just as I expect, no problems there. Next thing we'll do is we will turn on a screen reader. For this, I'm going to use the free NVDA screen reader. I'm going to bring the speech viewer onto the screen so you can see what it's saying as well as hear it. Okay, so now I have the screen reader turned on, and we're going to start listening to the page.
Link logout. Visited link skip to content. Banner landmark link current page 2023. All pages navigation landmark list with 8 items. Visited link home. Visited link blog. Visited link current page front page. Visited link about the tests. Button collapsed about the tests submenu. Link level 1. Button collapsed level 1 submenu. Link lorem ipsum. Visited link page A. Link page B out of list. Main landmark heading level 1 front page. Use this static page to test the themes handle.
So now it's read through the entire menu, and there's a few things that I want to point out. First of all, once we got through the WordPress admin menu, we heard the skip to content link. Then it says banner landmark link current page 2023, and that's the icon that has a link back to the homepage. The next thing we hear is that we are in a navigation landmark, and it's a list with 8 items, and that's the menu. So it's good that it reads that it's a list and that there's 8 items in that list, because that's how people can tell where they are inside that list. So then it starts going visited link home, visited link blog, and that reads the first top level menu items. Then it goes visited link current page front page, and that's good too, because it tells us where in the menu we are on the website. And that says that we are on the front page of the website and that we just hit the menu item for that page. Then we go to about the tests, and after that we hit something that says button collapsed about the test submenu. So about the test has that submenu, but because it's a top level link, it reads it as the link, and then the next thing that we hear is button collapsed about the test submenu. Then we go to level 1, and then it says button collapsed level 1 submenu. So not only is it reading that there's a submenu and that there's a button to control that submenu, but it's again reading the name of the top level menu items so that people can orient themselves. And I should also mention that after page B, it went ahead and started reading the content of the page, which is also good. Now let's use the tab key, because this is how people are going to navigate through it. Okay, so there we have the skipped content link.
Banner landmark 2023 link current page.
And that's our site icon.
All pages navigation landmark list with 8 items home visited link.
We can hear that we're inside the menu now.
Blog visited link. Front page visited link current page. About the tests visited link. About the tests submenu button collapsed.
Great, now I'm on the button and we'll activate that.
Expanded.
Now it says that it's expanded, but it doesn't say anything because we haven't actually gone into it. So I'll hit tab again.
List with 5 items page image alignment visited link.
Now it tells me about the menu that we're inside of.
Page markup and formatting visited link. Clearing floats link. Page with comments link. Page with comments disabled link. Level 1 link.
And you can hear that it took us back to the top level menu item, but it didn't say anything about it closing that submenu. And this, again, is just a function of the way that screen readers work with those drop-down menus. It doesn't tell us when we're out of it, but it will tell us when we're back at the top menu. And we just need to kind of orient ourselves in our head as to where we are. Before I close the screen reader, I want to zoom in at 400%, and we'll hear what it sounds like when it's in mobile view.
Skip to content visited link.
So first thing, we've got the skip to content link. That's great.
Banner landmark 2023 link current page.
There's our site icon.
All pages navigation landmark open menu button submenu.
Now we have the navigation button. So I'll activate that and see what happens.
Menu dialog. List. List with 8 items home visited link. Menu. Visited link home. Visited link blog. Visited link current page front page. Visited link about the tests. List with 5 items visited link page image alignment. Visited link page markup and formatting. Link clearing floats. Link page with comments. Link page with comments disabled out of list. Link level 1. List with 3 items link level 2. List with 3 items link level 3. Link level 3A. Link level 3B out of list. Link level 2A. Link level 2B out of list. Link lorem ipsum. Visited link page A. Link page B.
And because the mobile menu doesn't have submenu dropdowns, it just lists everything in there the way that we would expect. So let's make sure the tabbing works properly both forward and backwards, and we should be okay.
Blog visited. Front page visited. About the list with 5. Page markup and formatting visited link.
Everything's working just the way we expect. I can go through both the top menu as well as the submenu links. I'll hit escape and that should close the menu.
Menu button submenu open menu.
And I'll hit spacebar to see if we can open it up that way as well.
Menu dialog. List.
Yes, and that works just as we expect. The only thing that struck me as odd was when I opened this menu, it put the focus on the first menu item, not the close button. And that's what I would have expected.
Menu dialog. List. List with 8 items home visited link. Close menu button.
I would have expected focus to go on the close menu button right away so that I could just hit that same button to close it again.
Menu button submenu open menu.
But I don't think this is a deal breaker. Okay, so doing that, it seems like the screen reader test works just fine in the mobile menu as well as the keyboard test on the mobile menu. So I'm going to close the screen reader and I think we'll be good to go there. And for this test, I've come up with a list of 50 different criteria and mapped them against the WCAG and the WCAG level. So we'll go through each of these one by one. The way that I came up with those is by looking at several of these documents here on the W3C. So we've got this menus tutorial, which is a fantastic document. This has a great overview of the structure of a menu as well as the styling and how we should do flyout menus. And then we have this example navigation disclosure menu that has top level links. So this has some good information about how the menu should operate, what roles, property, states, and attributes it should have, as well as how it should work with the keyboard. There's also this excellent link here from the W3C. And this is an important one. I just want to bring attention to this box right here. It says, although this example uses the word menu in the colloquial sense to refer to a set of navigation links, it does not use the ARIA menu role. That's because the menu and menu bar roles require complex functionality and first character navigation. That's unnecessary for typical site navigation. So what this is saying is that there's a difference between an application menu that you would see in something like Notepad or Microsoft Word and a website navigation. An application should use the menu bar and menu patterns, but a website navigation should use the disclosure navigation menu pattern. I'm just going to open up Notepad here so that you can sort of see the difference. With an application, I would expect to be able to do something like Control F to open this dropdown and then navigate with the arrow keys up and down, as well as submenus that way, and then Escape would close it. So arrow key navigation is what we would generally expect in an application like this. On a website, arrow keys don't do anything. We expect to navigate using the Tab key, the space bar, and Enter. We also don't have that ability to do something like Alt-F to use first letter navigation. So they really are different patterns. It is a big problem that I see people try to use this menu bar pattern for website navigation, and it's really not appropriate for it. So that's definitely one of the things that we look at here in the criteria. And you'll also notice if I go over here to the navigation menu bar example, it gives us that same warning again. It says caution, don't use this for site navigation. That the more suitable pattern here is the disclosure pattern. And that example disclosure navigation menu is the one to use. And then here with the disclosure navigation menu, we have two options. One has a top level link, the other one doesn't. And for website navigation, almost every website that I've gone to has a top level link. So that's generally the one that I will turn to. So let's come in here to the menus. And the first test that we have is that the page needs a way to skip repeated content such as the navigation menu. That's using our skip link. So I'm going to pass that. Then we want to check that the navigation menu is structured as a list. So to check out the structure, I'm just going to right click on that and go to Inspect. And this is going to open up our DevTools. And we will see that we have our list here. This is our unordered list and our list items inside of it. So the way this is structured, the unordered list is the wrapper for the menu. The list item holds each one of these guys. And inside of there is going to be a link. And then inside of that is a span for the name. For dropdowns, we've got a list with a link that holds the text and then a button with an icon in there. And then inside of that is another list. So we've got a nested list inside of a list. And then inside of that nested list is the same thing where we have our list item with our anchors and spans. So that passes. It is structured as a list. Is it enclosed in a nav element? And that's the thing that's going to instruct the screen reader to tell us that we're inside of a navigation menu. So let's take a look at what we have. We've got our unordered list, and that is enclosed within a nav. We'll also see inside this nav is an ARIA label called All Pages, and this All Pages is the name of the menu that I have created inside of WordPress. So this navigation tells us which menu we're in as well. That's a pass. Menu is labeled with a descriptive name. There we go. That's what we just talked about, so that's a pass. Menu items do not use incorrect elements, roles, or attributes such as menu or menu bar element. So we guess it follows the disclosure menu pattern. That's a pass. Now we have to look at how we indicate the current item. And we've got two options. One, and this is probably the least used, is by using invisible text that says current page is whatever. The more common way to do it is to use this ARIA current equals page. We heard this when we were using a screen reader, when we got to front page and it read front page, current page. So let's see how that works in the code. We're on the front page. Let's inspect our element. And yes, there we have it. On our link, we have an ARIA current equals page. And this is the thing that tells us where we are. And I'm going to set these two to NA. Decorative and functional icons have text alternatives or ignored by screen readers. So this SVG here for the drop-down button should be one of those. And we see it's got an ARIA hidden equals true so that it doesn't try to read this. So that passes. Menu is appropriately sized to fit all text. So this is saying that we can actually read all the text that's in there even if it's very long. Let's just take a look. And yes, it's wrapping the text around the submenus. No problems there. Menu adapts to long words or large scaled text. We saw that when we zoomed all the way up, and that was pass. Menu avoids all uppercase text, line breaks, and hyphenation. Yes. Sufficient white space to support people with reduced dexterity and small touch screens. Yes. And that's one of the things that I looked at when we zoomed all the way in like this, is that there was enough space between each of these items that we wouldn't fat finger something. These submenu items are a little bit borderline, but I'm going to allow it. The WCAG doesn't really specify what sufficient means. Menu items do not overlap themselves or page content when the text size is increased. Correct. It did not do that. It worked just fine. The dropdown did go over the page content, but that's expected. Menu items are identifiable using visual styles. And yes, that was one of the first things we looked at, was that right now we just see a bunch of words at the top, but when we hover over, we can tell that they are menu items because they have the underline there. There's lots of other ways to do it. We can use borders, we can use colors, all sorts of things like that. They're visually styled to indicate that they can be activated. Again, yes, that's a pass because they underline. Visual style changes to indicate hover state. Yes, it does. And now here we go. This is one that we're going to see quite a bit, is that more than just color is used to convey hover state. It's because the WCAG says that we can't use color only to indicate that something has changed states. It needs to, if we're using color, we also need to use something else. So because we're using an underline, that's a pass. Did the visual style change to indicate that the state was focused? Yes, it did. When we're hovered, we have a solid line. When it's focused, we get a dotted line, plus we get the focus outline there. Visual style changes to indicate that the menu was activated. Let's find out about that. And activated means that when I click it, before it actually does the thing that it's doing, or while it's loading the page, for example, we're going to see the visual style change. And yes, it did. The visual style changed from a solid underline to a dotted. And yes, more than color was used. And this is one of the changes that I saw in the 2023 theme. 2022 did not have this, but now we are able to pass that. And that's a WCAG level AAA requirement. Visually indicate the current menu item in addition to other structural markup. So that's saying that I'm on the front page. This should tell me visually that I'm on the front page. It does not. So I'm going to fail that. And this is a level AAA. So it's not critical. Level AA is generally what you want for accessibility reasons. AAA is kind of bonus points. And since this next one is dependent on that, I'm going to say not applicable. Mobile menu button can be targeted, activated, and closed to use the keyboard. We tested that already, so yes, that's a pass. Pressing the escape key on the top level menu item of a mobile menu closes the menu or menu panel and returns focus to the trigger. Yes, that was a pass. Submenus are contained as a list within a list item. And again, that's what we saw when we looked at this in the inspector. We have our list item, and inside of there is another unordered list. So yes, that is also a pass. Submenus are indicated visually, such as using an icon, and yes, that's our little drop-down chevron. They're indicated using markup, such as ARIA expanded. Let's take a look at that. And here we need to see this ARIA expanded. We need to see this on the drop-down trigger. This is another error that I see a lot of places, that this is on the wrong thing. I've seen ARIA expanded on the list item element. I've seen it on the anchor element, but it belongs on whatever element is being used to expand that dropdown. So if it's a button that's being used, the ARIA expanded needs to be on the button. If it's the anchor that's used, it needs to be on the anchor. This ARIA expanded false should change depending on whether we have the menu expanded or not. So let's take a look at whether that works. So I have our About the Test submenu. And when I hover over it, we should see that ARIA expanded equals false change to true, but we're not seeing that right now when I hover over. Let's see what happens when I use the keyboard to open it. When I use the keyboard to open it, ARIA expanded equals true does change. So that changes with keyboard, but does not change with the mouse for some reason. So let's come back and we'll take a look at some of these requirements here. Submenus are indicated using markup. Yes, it does. The indicated behavior is predictable and identifiable. Yes. And this is saying that we don't want something in there that people aren't going to immediately recognize. The element that shows and hides content is a button or has a roll button. So yes, it is a button. When the content is visible, the element that shows, hides the ARIA expanded is set to true. When it's hidden, it's set to false. I'm going to make this a partial because it does not change when it's activated with hover, only the keyboard. This has been a problem with the WordPress navigation menus for a couple versions now. And I've seen it with other products as well. Only elements that control dropdowns have ARIA expanded attributes. That's what we talked about earlier. Yes, it passes. And that's saying that it should not be on a link item or anything else. Here's an optional one that says that we can use the ARIA controls attribute on the button that would indicate the element ID of the dropdown. This functionally doesn't really do anything, but it is something that we could put on there if we really wanted to be ambitious. Fail optional. And here we talk about how we open the flyout. And we've got those two different ways of doing it. We can do it with a parent item, or we can do it with a toggle button. Since we're not using the parent item, I'm going to do NA for these. And here we have the toggle button. So a button element opens and closes that submenu. Yes, it does. There's an attribute or invisible label on the dropdown trigger alerting the users that activating it will show or hide the submenu. And we heard that when we used the screen reader, yes. And we can see that visually by seeing that we have this ARIA expanded equals false, and that's what's going to tell the screen reader to read that it's collapsed or open. So because of that, we pass. Now we have the parent's menu items included on the button's label. And when we look at the button, we have an ARIA label that says About the Test submenu. So that's good because this is the parent menu item is About the Test. And then we say About the Test submenu. The drop-down menu stays open when the parent menu and submenu is hovered. This is one of the first things that we tested. And that's just saying that when I hover over this and go down, it doesn't close the submenu or do anything weird. The submenu is hidden or shown based on when the parent menu item is hovered. This is optional because you can open or close a submenu using either hover or click, and both ways are perfectly valid. And then we have this one that says that there's a slight delay closing the submenu when the mouse leaves the area. And this is for people that have motor problems, that it doesn't close the submenu right away when I mouse out. However, this one does. So I'm going to fail that as an optional failure. Submenu should not open when using the tab key to navigate through the menu. And that's good because we can go all the way through the top level menu item without it automatically opening the submenu. And this is one of the problems that I see in a lot of menus as well, is that when we hit one of these, it's going to automatically open. And now I have to tab through each one of these and keep on tabbing until I get through all the submenu items. And that's just a pain in the butt for somebody who has to use their ears or only use a keyboard to navigate through. So this is a pass. Tab key moves focus among the top level items and drop down. Yes. Shift tab moves backwards. Yes. Space on the top level menu item with the drop down toggles the visibility. Yes, it did. Enter toggles visibility. Yes, it did. Enter activates focused links in the menu. Yes, it does. So we'll do this. I will just use enter to go to About the Tests. We tested that. That was one of the first things that we tested with the keyboard, and it worked just fine. Keyboard focus does not get trapped in the menus, submenus, or menu panel. No, it does not. So that's a pass. And by keyboard trap, that means that once I'm in here, I can get out and then it goes to the right place. It doesn't, my keyboard doesn't get stuck in here. So that's a pass. Escape key closes the open drop down and sets focus on the button that controls it. Yes, it did. And we'll just demonstrate that one more time. I'm going to hit escape and that closes it and sets focus back there. And then the submenu closes when the keyboard focus is lost. And again, that's one of the things that we already tested. And I'll just do it one more time. And that's just saying when I tab out of the menu, it closes. So all in all, this menu from WordPress 6.1, the 2023 theme, is really nice. And it passes almost everything. It fails this one here to visually indicate the current menu item. I bet that's something that we can do with CSS. The biggest problem I found was that ARIA expanded does not change to true when I hover over it. It only does it when I activate it with the keyboard. Other than that, we're in great shape here. I hope you found all this helpful. I've walked through each of the criteria and tried to explain it as I go along. You can do these tests just as well as I can and create your own spreadsheet to track things as you go. Let me know your thoughts, ideas, and opinions in the comments below. And as always, if you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time.